Welcome back to EV Motoring. I'm Joe, and today it's time to do a 10,000 mile review. Technically, we're at 11,000 miles of the 2022 Polestar 2 dual motor. So my plan for this video, walk around the car, show how the paint is held up. Just got a car wash this morning, so it's looking extra nice, as good as it can in the wintry conditions here in the Midwest. Show how the paint is held up, show how the interior has held up or hasn't. And then we'll take it for 2 spins. I'm gonna go take it just around the block or kind of local city streets, talk about how it rides in just a daily driver kind of setting. And then we'll jump back to the tail of the Dragon, which technically was filmed before this, but we'll go and take it on some nice twisty bits and show how the car performs when you're pushing it to the limit. All right, we'll start with the exterior quality. And this car has been through a lot. Tons of road trips, tons of bugs and stuff. See lots of bugs that did not come off in this car wash here. But I can assure you, none of these affected the paint. We only have one imperfection right here. It's a little rock chip that I caught literally on the first day of ownership, driving it from Denver to San Diego. But other than that, I'm very happy with the snow white color. And actually a top tip, when I was buying this, the base color was void, which is I think basically black. And I had to pay $1,200 to upgrade to snow. But the people at the Polestar Center strongly recommended upgrading to snow or any color, because they said the void color, the black color, is a very not good quality paint, kind of scratches easy, scuffs easy, whatever you want to call it. This snow color seems to have held up pretty well, and I think, although it doesn't always show up the best on camera, which white cars typically don't, I think it still looks great in person, and you really have to kind of see it in person to see how it looks. There's not really too much flake in it. There's a little bit of a metallic, but really it's just a good-looking white color. As far as the rims and tires have some wear. I'd say we have about 10,000 miles of tire depth left, and we're at 11,000 miles, so part of that is my spirited driving. But as far as the rims, they've looked pretty good. I think it is the passenger side rear that found a curb. Let's see where it is. Oh yeah, right there. Found a curb. Cried a little bit. This was my baby at the time. Still is. Love this car. But a little bit of damage to the rim right there. Otherwise, it's been pretty good. So the Polestar has the 19-inch rims, at least my dual motor does. So this has the 245/45 R19 tires. They're the Michelin Primacy. They are the Michelin Primacy 4s. They're a little bit of a performance, kind of biased all-season tire. Although me driving them here in the winter, especially when we had the below zero temperatures, I think they still perform great. Not nearly as good as a winter tire would. I still would recommend, if you're buying this to keep long term, get a second set of tires for the winter and enjoy these in the warm conditions. Now let's, since we're back here, might as well pop the back and take a look at how the trunk did. This is actually where the wear was kind of the most. So let me turn on my flashlight on my phone here. Try to see if we can show. See right here, the carpet in a couple spots kind of got almost torn up or delaminated from the plywood that it's on here. I had my Yeti cooler in the back of the car, and just the cooler, kind of the weight of it moving around, actually tore up the carpet a little bit. So a little disappointed on the quality there, because typically Polestars and Volvos, you brand them as more of an outdoor company that you're going to go take road trips, go camping out of the car. I should be able to put a cooler in the back and not have the carpet fail like that. Another nice thing about the Polestar, the down below storage looks great. The rest of the carpet is in pretty good shape, but that certainly was a little bit of a fail spot. Now let's go open the frunk. So to do that in the Polestar 2, just come over here, pull this handle once. And then right under here, a little yellow lever, push that. And there we go. Nice hydraulic lifts on the front trunk. It's carpeted here on the inside. I think I prefer when it's more of a plastic, so it's easier to wash out. But there looks like there is a little, I don't know if this is a drain plug or just a screw cap there. But it's done pretty well. I typically keep my charging cables up here. Polestar tire repair kit that comes with the vehicle. But the front trunk, I think, has held up pretty well. Nothing really too much to show there. So now when you're doing this, you want to push down on both sides since there's two points that the hood latches. Now let's go take a look at the interior and see how that has held up over 11,000 miles of cross-country road trips and day-to-day use, especially here with the winter. I apologize for these carpets. I literally just cleaned them a couple days ago, but with the conditions around here, I definitely would recommend like a WeatherTech all-weather mat for the Polestar 2. Because you see here, the carpet stops right here. It doesn't go behind the pedals. So you get stuff that gets behind the pedals and then falls down behind the carpet. It doesn't catch everything like a all-weather mat would. But if we come here to the back, it's in excellent shape since I haven't typically had really any passengers. So the carpets are looking good right there. The seat backs have like a plastic, so really easy to clean up. So if you have kids, that's certainly a good option here because you, instead of having the mat pockets, you have the plastic, which is easy to clean. As far as the back seats, they look great. Just a little dirt and dust that wipes right off. It's a pretty durable seat in my opinion, considering it's cloth. And the driver's seat, which has gotten the most wear, as you can see here, is still held up excellent. You know, fabric is very nicely stitched. No stains, rips, tears, anything along those lines. Here's one of the most satisfying things in the world. I've actually saved this just for all your viewing pleasure. So if this is satisfying to you, please do like and subscribe. Really helps the channel grow and helps me bring more content to people. So here's the screen protector. Oh yeah, look at that. As far as the infotainment, it's been pretty good, although I have had to reboot it 3 times. So basically what has happened is a couple times while I'm navigating, just anywhere, just driving down the road, it has lost GPS signal, and it'll show that notification in the dash as well as right here, and the map will kind of just get stuck at the point it's at, or it might try to keep following the road, but it'll effectively lose it eventually because it loses contact with the GPS. So to reboot, all you do, first you hold this. Let me show you real quick. So after holding it for a couple seconds, it goes into screen cleaning mode. Super effective as far as being able to clean it and, you know, not activate a bunch of things when you are cleaning it. And then I think you just hold it for another couple seconds and that will put us back into, there we are, back into that mode. Now, if you're having a GPS issue or some other reason you need to reboot your screen, by the way, we can turn climate on to level 2, 72 degrees. There we go, warm it up here a little bit. But if you need to reboot this, you just click and hold. It's not a click really, I guess touchscreen. Just click and hold this for about 10 to 15 seconds. So it goes into screen cleaning mode. Keep holding the home button. Don't let go until it goes into reboot. There it goes. So now this will reboot the infotainment, get a clean, new signal with the GPS out there. And so this can have, maybe your radio freezes, anything goes wrong with the screen, you need to reboot. You just hold this little kind of home button down here at the bottom. You'll see it has Polestar 2 pop in right here as it's doing its reboot. And yeah, it's a pretty simple fix. I think Tesla does a similar thing where you kind of hold the buttons on the steering wheel, but always good to know how to reboot your infotainment system as, these cars are basically really fancy computers. And just like sometimes computers need a reboot, sometimes the car does. As far as the quality of the inside here, this piano black, less than ideal, because as much as I clean it, within a couple days, my hand rests right here when I'm holding the shifter to put it into gear, into forward or reverse. Anytime I'm touching my radio, fingerprint smudges get everywhere. So it'd be nice if that wasn't, maybe it could just be more of this checkered pattern or, I don't know, something There's a lot of options that they could do. I just prefer the piano black to go away. And there's some on the steering wheel too. It gets really smudgy because these are the high contact points. You're constantly touching these buttons on the steering wheel to turn on cruise, change the radio, voice commands, all that sort of stuff. So I am a big fan of what they're doing here, of having this little fabric and this nice little textured, it's plastic, but it's like a nice textured plastic here. And then the speakers are wrapped right here, speaker there. And then this is wrapped in kind of a neoprene. This material, actually, the neoprene, is the material that would be on the seats if I bought the premium package, the plus package. So instead I have the fabric. This is still a fabric, just a little bit nicer fabric. You know, everything here is a little bit soft touch. This is not as soft as you'd like it to be, but it's not too bad. One flaw of the interior is that when I do have a second drink, I need to keep this open to get to my second drink holder. I frequently use this little area here for keeping a cloth to clean the screen, as well as a couple charging cards, good to keep around the car. And then something else to note is if you have no drink at all, this actually will slide forward. So if you need a little bit different armrest. So, but for me, I always have at least a bottle of water or something, so there's always something in here. I don't have the wireless charging, but I keep my phone up here, keep it plugged in. As far as the ports, there's 2 of them, and I'm going to get this backwards, so don't worry. They're both USB-C plugs. The one on the left, I believe, is the one that controls Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, or, you know, wiring up to the screen. The one on the right is just for charging. This has wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, so you don't need to have it plugged in, but if you do plug it in, you can do the wired version and get your charging your phone through the process. Something I've certainly grown to love, especially since I did this road trip recently to Disney with my sister and her husband, is having the memory seats. So I have memory 1 set up for me, and that controls the mirrors and the seat. So that's certainly a nice feature to have, especially even in a base model. It's great because most cars, a lot of times you're going to have multiple drivers. So why not have a memory seat? I think most cars should have that, especially if they have power seats. Pretty easy to implement. And even if you're just a solo person in the car, sometimes you're going to have passengers in the back. So I sometimes would set up 1 for myself when I'm solo in the car, and 2 will bump the seat up just a little bit so the person behind me has a little more legroom, since legroom is a little bit less than ideal in the Polestar 2. Since I didn't buy the Plus package, you know, no glass roof here, any of those niceties. It's just, you know, as base as the car could come, except I added the dual motor function. So I'm not really sure what else there is to show in here. You know, feel free to comment down below if there's anything that I missed that you want me to, you know, give you an update on. But I think it's time to go hit the road and show you the driving portion of this video. All right, so I've already shown you around the car and the interior, showed you how the car is held up for the first 10,000. Actually, technically, we're at 11,254 miles at this time. After this drive, I'm going to show you the canyon blasting on, I guess not really canyon blasting, but driving on the tail of the Dragon, having a little bit of spirited fun. But now I'll just go over, you know, some quick dynamics and how the vehicle just drives as a daily driver. So right now, just you know, just leaving my neighborhood, and you can see by me hitting the first bump there, it is a little bit stiff on suspension. It's one of these tricky things, right? Because if you want to drive the car spirited, you want a better suspension. But if you're not going to drive that way, which a majority of people are not, it kind of makes sense to just have a softer suspension. And you know, there's the performance package out there, and it's like, okay, so it makes sense for that to have a pretty aggressive suspension. But in my opinion, the regular, you know, the base model, that whether you go single motor or dual motor, I just think it should be a little more compliant. I think this is a little stiffer than you would find in your average BMW. You know what I mean? That Tesla's known for being a little stiff, but that's not necessarily a good thing. I think it would be better if if Polestar took the opportunity to, you know, just soften this car up just a little bit. You know, with the performance package, the nice thing about it is that suspension is adjustable. So in theory, you can actually buy a performance and make it more compliant than the dual motor, which in my opinion shouldn't really happen. But actually, in fact, it happens with the Mustang Mach-E as well. The regular Mach-E is super bouncy. It's one of the reasons it's a really great car, but that's actually a reason that I've not personally owned it. It's too bouncy for my liking. This car is kind of close to that. However, this car is more of a sports sedan. The Mach-E I look at as more of like a crossover SUV, station wagon, whatever you want to call that. So for that car, I think it's just way too bouncy. But if you actually step up to the GT with the performance pack, you gain MagneRide. And in the softest, most comfortable setting, the MagneRide is far more comfortable than the Mach-E is in just a regular daily driving. And I think it's kind of a miss that these cars try to be a little bit too sporty, trying to be a little bit too much like Tesla, because there's definitely a place for just a comfortable but still fast car. And I think Polestar, they're still only a couple of years old. I think they will adapt and grow over time, and hopefully, they can fix that. As far as the rest of driving, as far as the driving position, I love the steering. I love my, reach to the pedals. I love, the amount of power on demand is just excellent. I think this dual motor is really nice, of being right in par with the Tesla dual motor, and a lot of other EVs out there that do a dual motor, they're still in that 5 seconds 0 to 60 range. So getting this down closer to 4, and if you buy the performance upgrade that's now available for the Polestar, I think it's $1,195, that'll put you down to 4 seconds. I think that's pretty respectable, and certainly it's reaching above its price point, because find another 0 to 60 second car in 4 seconds, and still the other dynamics too, right? This is an excellent handling car. I find myself, I used to have a Mustang, and I would, love doing the 0 to 60 sprints, but I wouldn't like taking on-ramps at very high speeds. This car wants you to take the on-ramps at high speeds. It wants you to push it, more and more and more. When you're even if you're just doing a right turn as you're coming up to a green light, you want to take that turn a little faster than you normally would. I don't know what it is, but it's a very engaging experience in here, and I'm, been pretty happy with the few months that I've owned it so far. My one dislike about the cabin in here, I guess it's kind of two. It's just more of the space that I have in here. So as much as I like when I am driving in an engaged experience, where my reach is to the pedals and wheel, but when I'm just trying to relax, the center console certainly impedes a lot of my knee, and my knee is constantly sitting against it. So, if for whatever reason they don't want to change the way the center console is designed, putting a little padding here certainly would be a nice, changing this to a more soft touch material would be appreciated. And then, and actually causes trouble for me, because when I'm sitting with cruise control on, I want to put my, foot flat, and I can't do that because my knee is against the steering wheel, and it's pinned between the wheel and the center console. It's something I actually haven't encountered in other vehicles before, or at least vehicles that I've owned. And then the other thing is actually how low this comes. It actually makes this car, even though it's got more ground clearance than a lot of EVs out there, kind of like a lifted sedan, it actually is fairly difficult to get in and out of. Now, once you own it, you learn the process that you kind of step and wedge yourself down into the vehicle. But initially, there is a learning curve of, of how you get in the vehicle. And when I have passengers, they frequently, the older people in my family frequently hit their head right here, because this comes down so low, so they really have to duck down to get into the car. Now, I know this probably helps with safety, having a big beefy piece of metal right there, steel right there, but that's certainly something that if and when a redesign happens, maybe going to a frameless door, or exploring other options of what they could do to just make it a little bit easier getting in and out of, might help some more people gravitate towards the Polestar. One really cool feature about the Polestar is when I would be charged to 100% in the Volkswagen or some other electric vehicles, and the regen is limited, as you see here, all the grayed out area on the left side on the charge side of the power meter. With those vehicles, when I would let off, the vehicle would just coast. You wouldn't get, since you can't get regen, the vehicle would just coast. With the Polestar, even though I don't have regen, the car still brings itself to a complete stop in the one pedal driving. There's a Rivian. This is really cool for still getting the one pedal driving while you're if you're at a high state of charge, and a huge safety factor that I really think other car manufacturers need to bake in. If they're going to give you one pedal driving mode, or really just a high level of regen, I think they need to calibrate to get the brakes to have some sort of, apply a little bit of friction brakes to simulate what the regen would be if you're in a situation where you cannot properly regen. Otherwise, if I didn't know any better, I would be, could be coming up to a light where there's a car in front of me stopped, and I would let off thinking the car is going to slow down. And if it doesn't, it just coasts. That's obviously a very dangerous situation. So it's much better to have this kind of better calibration that the car will still slow down as if I had full regen available. Yeah, it uses a little bit of friction brakes. Yeah, it's a little bit less efficient, but safety obviously is number one on that. Another thing that's so amazing that I kind of honestly, it's easy to forget because you just get so used to the route planning being so good in this car, is the Google Maps. So here, I'll give you a quick demo on why it is so good. Hey Google, get directions to Nashville, Tennessee. And this is real time.
Nashville is 8 hours, 22 minutes from your location by car in light traffic.
This is real time, not edited. My car is at 34% right now. It puts in Nashville, and look at that. It knows we're gonna need to charge, so we just click add charging stops. And look at that. It says we're gonna arrive at this Electrify America with 20%. Charge there for 25 minutes. Then go to, that's most likely Lafayette, Indiana. Arrive with 10%, charge for 27 minutes. And it has all the stops the whole way, shows the time it'll take, so 584 miles and almost 11 hours of travel time, including the charging time. Awesome. I mean, that is Tesla level of navigation. It doesn't show the exact live data on a charger like a Tesla does, but that's really the only thing it's missing. Everything else with the traffic and, it just shows how awesome, I can't say enough how awesome the route planning is. Now, actually, as I look at this a little closer, it's saying, okay, charge in Rockford and then charge downstate by Bloomington, the Rivian headquarters. But still, it has the whole route right there with all the charging stops added, and it was that simple. But I mean, other than that, there's not really much, to say, positive or negative. It's just a really good daily driver, in my opinion. I've really enjoyed driving it. It's got great performance. It's fairly comfortable. The base stereo, in my opinion, is, more than adequate for, what you're getting. It's certainly not like going to a base Chevy stereo or a base Ford stereo. It is a decent speaker system, even though you're not buying the premium Harman Kardon system. And, the Google Maps, Google integration is just phenomenal, being able to use on a daily basis of every day, even when I go to work. I punch in my work address just because it's going to, have the traffic information, show me when I'm going to arrive with state of charge, and I can plan out my days a little better and allowing me to do the waypoints. I'm definitely a big fan. So now we'll move on to the spirited part of the drive. All right, welcome to the driving portion of the review, the 10,000 mile review of the Polestar 2. I've owned this car for 10,000 miles. It's been amazing. I have a Porsche on my tail, so what better way to be doing the tail of the dragon? And I figured for the driving portion of this review, why not be doing the tail of the dragon? So as I embark on this journey of the tail of the dragon, I wanted to talk about the quick settings that I put the car in for my driving style. I still put the one pedal drive mode in standard. I tend to like it that way, that when I roll off the throttle, it starts applying regen right away. I have creep turned off. That has no relevance to here because I'll always be moving, so creep wouldn't have any effect. I put the steering feel to firm. Again, all personal preference. I like feeling a heavier wheel, but that's all, personal preference. And then, of course, I turn ESC off. There still is some sort of traction control that's very restrictive on the car, but at least the stability control is a little less when we really get through these rolling curves and I want to power out of it. It doesn't completely cut the power on me right away. So this is my first time actually driving this road, so pretty excited about it. As you've heard from, the rest of this review, walking around the car, showing the little bits about the interior and exterior, it's a car that I've been pretty happy with. And I'll tell you a little bit about why I became so happy with it, or why I even knew that I thought I would want it. Just about a year ago, I got the chance to go to California and drive a bunch of electric vehicles out in on Angeles Crest Highway. And while I was out there, I got to drive the Audi e-tron GT RS, outstanding. It's basically the sister car of the Porsche Taycan. Then I got to drive the Mercedes S-Class. Then I got to drive the Volvo XC40 Recharge, Mustang Mach-E GT and GT Performance. So all of these vehicles were just incredible. Of all the vehicles, obviously the Audi e-tron GT RS was, the most impressive vehicle, especially on Angeles Crest Highway. However, I was the most surprised by the Volvo XC40 Recharge. And the Polestar 2 is the exact same battery, exact same powertrain. So the same dual motor configuration, as long as you get the dual motor Polestar, as that Volvo. And when I drove that Volvo on Angeles Crest, I'm like, wow, this car is an incredible car around the city. Incredible car just cruising down the highway, a little bit on the stiff side, but still very good. And then when you go on the highway and open, or on a canyon and open it up, it performs like a sports car, and this is a crossover SUV. So then you take the Polestar 2, which is lower to the ground, a little bit better, a little bit lower center of gravity. You're only going to improve on all the things that I found that I liked in the XC40 Recharge. So if you need more of a family vehicle, I cannot recommend the Volvos enough, because those have a little bit more practicality than this car, as I showed by the trunk space being a little bit limited. But it still isn't, for me, just as a single person, it's an excellent daily driver. And then when I get to come down here on my road trip to a place like this, what else could I wish for? This is, driving bliss for the 11-mile stretch that is this road. So, yeah, it's just incredibly planted. I mean, but I can rail these turns way more than I ever could have in the Volkswagen, that's for sure. So it's just a very capable, very well balanced. The dual motors, the only negative I would say about the dual motors is they're completely balanced. So the front and rear motor provide the same power. Ideally, you'd prefer a little bit more power out of the rear. This is actually the same problem that the Mach-E GT has. So if you get a regular Mustang Mach-E long range or extended range, you have a more powerful motor in the back than you do in the front. And that creates a very nice driving dynamic of the car wanting to rotate very well. Once you go to the GT, they have the same motor that's in the back becomes the front motor as well. So you get much better performance, or you get the better performance, but it doesn't handle as well as a non-GT. Another flaw of the non-GT though is as the smaller tires, where the GT and GT Performance have the bigger tires. So now you come over to the Polestar here, you have the nice big grippy Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires that I have on this car, which are just outstanding. And you have the performance of this dual motor, which, it's instant power whenever I step on it, and the mapping on the pedal is so good. Like, I can modulate through every curve exactly how I want to, and as I'm coming up to a curve, I can roll off of the throttle, regen engages a little bit, apply a little brake, and power through. It's just a really good, well-balanced car. I can't say enough good things about that. And then to top it off, as I mentioned earlier, doing the around town and the highway commute so well, and doing the road tripping as well, because the charging has been fixed. If you see videos from a couple years ago, the Polestar 2 was kind of picked on a little bit. It had this nice size 77 kilowatt hour battery, or 78 kilowatt hour battery, 75 usable. But the charging was a little bit slow. It would hit 150 kilowatts for just a couple minutes, and then it would start ramping down, similar to how the Mach-E used to. And it really made road tripping it not good. That actually, the Volkswagen ID4 that I used to have would be a better road trip vehicle back then. But now, thanks to over-the-air updates, this car has received a new charging curve. And, if you watch the road trip video that I did back in September when I bought the car, as well as the road trip video that I'm on right now, which I think will get posted after this, you'll see that, as fast as I could go do anything, whether I needed to go grab food or run to the restroom, the car was ready to go every single time. So, the only time I genuinely had to wait in the car was the last charge that I did to charge to about 90% before doing this drive. And that's only because I was detouring to go do this drive. Had I just gone the normal route and taken the interstate over through the Smoky Mountains, that would have avoided needing that deep of a charge. I would have just been able to charge or hop like I had been doing. So all I would need to do is just charge to, 60, 65%, and I would have been off down the road. Sorry for if there's any noise kind of funneling around in the back of the car. That's my suitcase. There's a backpack. There's some bottles. It's, not the ideal cargo to have in this car for this drive, but you got to take what you can get. I got to say, this is tough to say. If you ask me to rate, do I like the Tail of the Dragon or Angeles Crest? I think Angeles Crest is definitely more scenic, but the amount of twists and turns that this road has, over 300 of them in an 11-mile stretch, it's hard to argue with the driving experience of driving this road. And so many of the curves, like at Angeles Crest, it's a little more predictable, it's a little more open, there's not as many blind curves. This is definitely more technical. Of almost every curve I go into, I don't know, is it going to be a declining radius? Is it almost a full U-turn? It's definitely a more technical driving experience on Tail of the Dragon. And I'm glad to have my Polestar for this drive. Not really sure what else I have to say. I mean, the 0 to 60 time of this car is 4.5 seconds. There is a software update that's rolling out. Actually, by the time you'll see this, it already is rolled out, that I would be able to, I believe it'll be about $2,000, and I can upgrade to basically unlock these motors to have the performance of the performance. And it's actually pretty cool. They said they're going to send new stickers for on the doors to show that it's going to be upgraded from 300 kilowatts of power to 350 kilowatts of peak power. The 0 to 60 time will drop from 4.5 seconds to 4.1 seconds. And they're actually going to send you a little white block that goes into the front grille. So since this has the black front grille, one of the little squares pops out, and you can pop in this white square that they'll send you that says engineered by Polestar or something like that, to signify that you bought the performance upgrade. Pretty cool. I'm not sure how the rollout's going to be. I mean, I know it's a software update. I don't know if they're going to make you buy it, and is there a trial period? I know with Tesla, with theirs, they give you, I think, a week to try it after you buy it, and then you can always uninstall the performance update if you choose. But pretty cool to see Polestar doing that, and they can do that because the motors in the dual motor are the exact same motors that go in the performance. So they're just detuned a little bit to create the difference between the two models. Also linked below, if you are interested in ordering a Polestar has actually started doing a referral program. So if you use my link below, it's no added cost to you, and it actually helps me out. I'm not sure what kind of perks they're going to be offering yet. They're just rolling that out here pretty recently, but I'd really appreciate it if you end up ordering and you can use my link. That would be helpful. I have not gotten to drive the performance version with the adaptive Öhlins suspension. In my opinion, Polestar kind of missed there. It's really cool to have that adjustability, but I think most people would rather just have, a button to press on their center console or in their infotainment screen that would adjust the suspension. I think if they, to have to get out and wrench on your car, there's a lot of people that like that, but I think there's also a lot of people that don't like that, and that's kind of becomes a barrier for Polestar to have to deal with in their sales. For me, without driving it, so of course my opinion could be changed, I still feel that this dual motor is such a great sweet spot. You get almost the same performance, and now if you buy the performance update, you will have the same performance 0 to 60 time of the Polestar performance pack. Where you miss out is you don't have the Brembo brakes. Like I said, the suspension's a little different, and I want to say the tires are different, but I don't know for sure. That's up in the air on that. I know it's a different rim, so it might be a different tire with that rim. But yeah, those are the quick differences between the dual motor and the performance. I think that you can't go wrong with the dual motor. You save some money and still have an outstanding car that really runs with almost any other electric car out there. It can really keep driving daily driving sedan. And now we are in North Carolina. So that means the road is winding to a close. I'm almost at the Deals Gap Motorcycle Resort. It was quite a slice to take you along with this on this journey with me on this road. I'm really happy to be able to have driven it. I hope to be able to drive it again soon someday. But with that, we'll jump out and wrap up the video. So that's a wrap for the 10,000 mile review of the 2022 Polestar 2 dual motor. If you found this content helpful, please do like and subscribe. Really helps the channel. And let me know if you think you'd consider a Polestar 2 or what car you think you would buy instead of a Polestar 2. Love to hear that below. Always love to hear your thoughts about what EVs interest you the most. And with that, take care until next time.